So last season in F1, we had one of the most dominated seasons by a single driver, by quite a landslide. But what a lot of people have to remember is, for me, there was two other standout drivers that season. The first one was Lewis Hamilton, finishing third in the Drivers' Championship, getting Mercedes at second place in the Constructors. And then there was Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin.
Almost made me cry. There was something in the air that night. The stars were bright, Fernando. They were shining there for you and me, for liberty, Fernando. Though we never thought that we could lose, there's no regret. If I had to do the same again, I would, my friend Fernando.
But then going into 2024, things have not been the same, and they started to dwindle at the end of 2023, but things have only gotten worse. Now, from where Aston Martin actually started the 2024 season, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't by all means amazing like we saw in 2023, but considering what we saw last year, it was about where we expected them to be. We obviously had McLaren resurgence, so that knocked them down a bit. Mercedes looked okay. Ferrari looked very good, very pacey at the start of the season. And of course, they were never going to be faster than the Red Bulls. So being in that like 9th to 10th position, always near the end of the points, was whereabouts we expected them to be. And honestly, at this point in the season, the first 7 or 8 races, they didn't perform bad. You had Fernando Alonso, who had a tremendous drive in Jeddah, managing to qualify 4th and managing to keep 5th, with Mercedes and McLaren drivers all behind them, who were in faster cars. And then you also had China and Japan, where he came 6th and 7th in both of those races. And again, beating Mercedes/McLaren in a few races, that's as much as you would really want from especially Alonso. Lance Stroll, not too much, but that's Lance Stroll for you. But that's sort of what we expected, and that is what Alonso can give you. Even in the 5th fastest car, he'll give you performances that you'd see from the 3rd or 4th fastest car, the Alonso effect. But then this didn't last forever, as Imola came around, and this is when the downgrade started to happen. So, for the Imola Grand Prix, Aston Martin decided to revamp their entire car, bringing upgrades to practically every aspect of their 2024 Challenger. But the thing is, with upgrades, they're supposed to make the car faster. But actually in Imola, they dropped to the back of the grid. It made the Aston Martin terrible to drive. Alonso qualified 19th. That is ridiculous. And considering this was the weekend where Mike Crack was saying this was the turning point, even Alonso was getting on it. They were like, if we get these upgrades right, this is the turning point of the season. We can put the fight to the top dogs of McLaren, Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari. It completely went the opposite way. And they never really recovered from this point onwards. Since Imola, they've only scored 29 points. And their best result came from Alonso in Canada getting 6th place. But that was due to all of the chaos. But in actual normal race Grand Prix weekends, we've had results such as 11th and 14th in Monaco, 12th and 14th in Spain, 13th and 18th in Austria, and the list just goes on since Imola. And they have tried to bring upgrades after their Imola ones, but even these upgrades aren't really working. So I don't really know what's going on with Aston Martin as a whole, how they can screw up the upgrades this tremendously, and how they can have such a drop-off from the start of 2023 to where they are now. It's basically done the reverse of what McLaren has done. But this is where I wanted to talk about Fernando Alonso, because yes, the car has gotten a lot worse since the start of 2023 and even since the start of 2024. However, the drivers have as well, specifically Fernando Alonso. So from Imola to Spa, Alonso only managed to get 16 points to Stroll's 15 points. Now, again, he's still got more points than Stroll, but from a 2-time world champion, who many believe, even I believe, to be top 5 drivers on the grid right now, some would even say that's being cautious, to only be 1 point ahead of his teammate, who many would say is the bottom 3 drivers in F1 as of today, it's not good, and it really does show you just how bad he's been of recent. And it doesn't just stop there. In the race head-to-heads, Alonso is 4-4 equal with his teammate Lance Stroll. And in qualifying, he is 5-3, beating Stroll only by 2 races. Now, again, 4-4 and 5-3, still doing better than Stroll. So you might be thinking, why the hell are you waffling about him? He's still doing better. It's just that gap is so much smaller now. To think, in 2023, if we take out how well the car did, so just with the head-to-head stats from 2023 to 2024, in the last 8 races, like I said, Alonso's lost to Stroll 4 times in the race and 3 times in qualifying. That's the amount of times he lost to Stroll in the race and qualifying in the whole of 2023. He's lost something, and I don't even think it's his confidence, because Alonso always has the Alonso effect no matter what. I think he's lost the motivation to actually just want to drive that car. It's such a terrible car at the minute. I don't think he sees any point in it. They've got such a gap to the next constructor in the Constructors' Championship, and they've got such a gap to Mercedes. Why would Alonso try it? Now, I think he should be doing a bit better, considering he is a world champion. He should want to strive to even get those few points. But I can see how, from going to get podiums last season to this, it could really damage your morale in the car. And then also, we do have to talk a little bit about Lance Stroll, as a lot of people would say that Lance Stroll maybe potentially is just outperforming the car a little bit and he's grown in form. But for me, I just don't see those standout drives from him. I think he's performing where the car sort of is when they can get points, and that's about it. I think he's doing okay just to not crash, because we've seen him crash a lot of times, but I do genuinely think it's a lot more of the Alonso dropping in form than Stroll's form picking up. So overall, what do you all think about this situation? Do you believe that it's Alonso dropping in form? Is it Stroll regaining a bit of his form? I mean, regaining what? I mean, maybe he's finding a new level to his ability. For me, I definitely think Fernando Alonso's just lost motivation with the car. He's written off the rest of the season, and that's why his form has kind of dropped off. And it is kind of crazy, for me at least, to be saying his form's dropped off when he's still beating his teammate. It's just, when you are Fernando Alonso, you expect more than this. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all later for another F1/F1 fantasy related video. Bye bye.